All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our engineering pathway. Thank you for coming to listen to our faculty talk a little bit more about what it means to be a student in the engineering program and pathway. My name is Sarah Pangel. I'm the Student Leadership and Engagement Specialist at Lord Fairfax, and I have helped set up this welcome week for students. And we are actually giving away prizes. So Monday morning, we will be drawing a raffle. And at the end of the session today, you will be able to enter that raffle. I'll put up a link and you'll just go and fill out the form. So our prizes are an iPad mini, a set of AirPods, and a really awesome Nintendo Switch that is in high demand right now, especially during COVID and everything. People are at home playing video games. So we will announce the winners of those on August 24th, which is the first day of classes. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Liz and Bill to tell you a little bit more about engineering.
Hey, okay, if I start, Liz? Okay. So I'm assuming that it looks like I'm unmuted, so I'm assuming everybody can hear me okay. So what we thought we would do is first just tell you a quick thing about ourselves. Liz and I both are the faculty that you're going to see the most of, depending on which program that you're actually interested in. So my name's Bill Lewis. I basically am a mechanical engineer. I went to the University of Virginia for a bachelor's, went to West Virginia University for a master's degree, and then worked in industry for a little over 7 years, basically as a project engineer, which kind of covers a whole bunch of different things, essentially. Came to the college quite a long time ago. I've been here for 38 years. I think this is my 38th year. And so kind of have a long-term experience with the way programs have changed and all that good stuff. So that's essentially my background. I primarily teach in the engineering program. And when I say engineering, it's really the specialization that is under the science degree. So most of my courses fall under that. If you're in the engineering technology side, and Liz will talk more about that in a little bit, then I have one course typically that falls into that category. And I'll turn it over to Liz and let her introduce herself.
Okay, thanks, Bill. My name is Liz Talfi. I'm the other full-time faculty teaching engineering technology classes. Primarily, I do teach one of the engineering classes as well. I started at LFCC a year and a half ago, about, and started full-time last fall. Before that, I worked for Bechtel Corporation for 7 years after graduating from Virginia Tech with my bachelor's and master's in civil engineering. At Bechtel, I was a field engineer primarily, and then I also worked in their project controls, and I worked as a superintendent for them as well. So I've got kind of a range of experience with Bechtel in engineering and the construction side. Then I taught at Colorado State University for their online program, and then moved back to Virginia and started at LFCC. So I've been with the program, again, 1.5 years or so, and I'm primarily on the engineering technology side with the one class in the engineering side that Bill will kind of go through the difference between the two programs. So Bill, I don't know if you want to talk about the program now, and then we'll go to the engineering technology side too.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. It looks like we've got 3 participants, and of course this will be put online for other people to view. So even if we didn't have anybody, we'd still present, and then it would be available online for folks. On the engineering side, most of the people who are in the engineering program, again, are intending to transfer on to one of the major universities, such as Virginia Tech, George Mason, West Virginia University has been one that they've transferred to, Old Dominion University. And I'd say right now, our primary transfer institutions would be George Mason and Virginia Tech. And it seems to be bouncing back and forth. George Mason last year picked up a number of our graduates, more so than in the past, and that's probably due to proximity, basically. The thing about the engineering program that is different than the engineering technology is basically the level of mathematics. It's really kind of what it comes down to. It's not really a program that's intended to get you a job after 2 years, though there are people who are getting jobs after 2 years, some as internships, and then they go on to the universities. So it's really intended to be more of a transfer program. And because of that, and because it's going into kind of traditional engineering at those universities, you're going to take somewhere between semester hours of calculus before you leave Lord Fairfax. That has changed recently and probably is going to change in the future again. So it's a very calculus intensive curriculum. And then there are numerous courses that you take, like statics, dynamics, strength of materials, and calculus is used in those courses. So that's just sort of what happens in the pathway for that program. It's very, very ordered, I guess I should say. In other words, you got to take this course before you take that course before you can take the next course. And so when people get out of sequence, that makes it difficult. So you really always want to check with me. Liz can help too, but I'm sort of the primary contact for the engineering about, hey, am I in the right things for the next semester? And of course, counselors and folks will help you with that as well, but that's a real important aspect of it. I can just only tell you that we've had great success for the students who have transferred on to Virginia Tech. We're going to have to start checking with George Mason because they now seem to be picking up a bunch of our students, which is great. But we've had real success with that, and those folks have done extremely well in terms of employment once they finish their transfer process, basically, and have finished at Tech or wherever they've gone to. I believe I didn't mention. I believe we also have one student who has gone to James Madison. I know we have one at Liberty University because he just emailed me. I don't think we have anybody at UVA yet. That's one that so far has escaped us, but all the others seem to be working pretty decent. And I'll turn it over to Liz, let her talk about the engineering technology a little bit.
Yeah, so in engineering technology, it's a broader range of students that we see. Since it's a 2-year, it's really based as a 2-year program to get your associates. We see students that are right out of high school, but then we also see students that are working full-time and working on their associates, primarily in the night classes. There are different specializations within engineering technology. There's the civil engineering technology, where you're working on an associate's that can get you to be a surveyor or to go out and work as a kind of an engineering tech on a construction site or an engineering aide, something like that. But this program does also transfer some credits to a couple universities with an engineering technology degree. And I think that's an applied science versus a science that the engineering transfer classes get you. There's also computer-aided drafting as a specialization in engineering technology. In that, you're going to focus on CAD. You'll learn how to operate CAD, and a lot of people might get jobs as a CAD technician within a company to help with their drawings and building those drawings. There's also mechanical engineering technology within the engineering technology general section. And that, again, you can be an engineer's aide, an engineer's technician, and some other related fields. And then there's also a technical operations specialization, which is electrical and control systems, where you can actually go and be an electrician apprentice, an industrial type worker, but you're really focusing on kind of investing in your career to get that associates and get you to the next step in your career. It's a little different, not as math heavy as the engineering transfer classes that Bill talked about, but you still do have a significant amount of math. We're really focusing on the theory, on what you need to get a job and to have the knowledge base that you will be successful in your own job or even building upon your knowledge that you already have. So something really neat about the classes is that you do have a lot of experience in the students that are in the classes with you, since we do have a lot of people who have worked in the industry and are now taking these classes. It adds a lot of information, of knowledge that I don't know as your professor, other professors don't know, that they can share with other students. Because as you'll know, when you go into the working force, you really don't know what you don't know until you get there. And a lot of people are able to kind of build upon your knowledge just by being in class with you as a student. So that's a little bit about the engineering technology side of the pathway. So again, there's the two sections. There's engineering and then engineering technology. And they both get you kind of into two different steps, but they're both pretty good pathways. Bill, I don't know if you want to add anything else for.
Yeah, actually, you reminded me of a couple things as you were talking.
Yeah.
Whether you go engineering technology or engineering, as long as you select the correct engineering technology. So say you're in mechanical or civil under engineering technology, and then you go on to say ODU and do their engineering technology. Someone who has a 4-year degree in engineering technology can become a registered professional engineer, just like a transfer engineering graduate, someone who goes through the science engineering program and then goes on to, say, Virginia Tech and does mechanical or civil engineering. So even though they really are two very distinct kind of different pathways, they can almost lead you to the same place. So they both have those kind of opportunities. Liz mentioned those disciplines as she was talking, those different areas of engineering technology, and I did not about engineering. And that's because under engineering, it's just engineering. It doesn't say mechanical or civil or electrical or some other discipline. So basically, if you do the engineering, I usually call it traditional engineering, which is under the science program. If you do that route, then you really don't pick a discipline, but, and this is important, there are some nuances in courses that you want to pay attention to if you kind of know what discipline you want to go into. And by discipline, I mean that mechanical or civil or electrical. So again, that's something where you want to talk to faculty about. They're going to be the most knowledgeable about it. And either one of us, again, I'm the main contact for the engineering, Liz for the engineering technology, I guess. So those are some nuances about it. One thing on transfer from the engineering technology and mechanical or civil to Old Dominion University works very, very well. It's been going on for a very long time. And you actually don't have to go to Old Dominion University physically. In other words, you can choose to do it over the internet, so you don't have to leave this area. That's one of the biggest benefits of it. If you can imagine someone who, took their time, got out of high school, went to the community college, and over that time they finished, say, mechanical engineering technology, but now they have a family and they have a full-time job, they probably don't want to pull up roots and go down to, Norfolk area for Old Dominion. They can do it right here. And it's probably the best return on your investment in terms of how much money you're going to spend versus what you get out of that later on. On the engineering side, you do have to move to get that 4-year degree. So you have to go to Virginia Tech, you have to go to George Mason, and that's just the way that it's set up. There are some online programs now, and there will be more of them in the future. So by the time, you folks that we're talking to or who will see this on the web, you're 2 years down the road at least before you would finish an engineering degree at Lord Fairfax. And so maybe by then it's different. I know UVA, I believe, has an online program now that they're promoting. So that is one difference, again, between the different programs. Another thing I should mention is some of the transfer things going on to ODU, for example, through engineering technology, there is an agreement essentially. It's kind of worked on every year. It's really smooth and it's kind of weirdly fluid, but it works very well. With George Mason on the engineering side, I don't believe I've never heard of any agreement other than a VCCS, Virginia Community College System agreement with George Mason, yet that one seems to be working very well. With Virginia Tech, there is a very specific articulation agreement. And here's the thing with that is, if you meet the minimum GPA for that agreement, you cannot be denied entrance into Virginia Tech unless you've done something, you just committed a crime or something. So it's a very good deal for people who specifically want to go on to Virginia Tech. Hard to get guaranteed admissions, and yet that program can get it for you if you could reach that GPA requirement, which I'm saying that, and I'm trying to remember what is that GPA requirement, and it's escaping me a little bit. I think it's a 3.2, but don't hold me to that. That's something that you want to check out, obviously. So those are some of the other items that, from Liz's comments, kind of made me think of those. And we had figured we would talk for a while and then just kind of turn it over to questions from you folks.
I do have, I kind of want to mention, if you have any hesitancy about going into a specific like specialization within the engineering technology, or you just don't know what kind of engineering you want to do, LFCC is the place to kind of figure it out. From a cost perspective, it's easier to figure out that you really, really like engineering, or you really like civil, or you really like mechanical, so you know what you want to go to in your next step. So don't be scared off by having to like choose within engineering technology if you want to do the civil engineering or the computer-aided drafting or mechanical. You can come in and start the classes and figure that out, because a lot of the classes in those 3 programs are very similar for the first semester at least. And Bill, speak up if I'm speaking incorrectly, but a lot of the time a student will come in and they won't really know which kind of engineering they want to do. And this is the time to figure it out. You're not expected to know exactly what kind of engineering you want to be in right away.
And on the engineering side, what Liz just said is very true on the engineering technology. On the engineering side, again, we don't have the different disciplines specifically. There are some course differences that you'd want to, get clear on in case you're thinking you want to go mechanical or whatever. But one of the things we do is try and get you oriented toward some experiences where you can figure out what you want to do, basically. The one key thing is, if it's somewhere along the line you think you want to change, you need to just talk with us as soon as you possibly can to basically eliminate taking courses that then don't work for you when you transfer or for the degree you're in. And that's just a prudent thing to do. Just don't hesitate to talk with us. Email us. I know it's weird now at this particular point in time with the coronavirus, but we watch our emails closely, and don't hesitate to pop those questions at any time, basically. So it is easier to go from, if you were in engineering transfer under science and you decided, no, I want to do technology, that's a fairly easy move to make. If you want to go from engineering technology into the transfer engineering, then that's more difficult because of the higher math requirements. And anything like that, that's why you just want to, as soon as you start to think a certain way, you just want to talk with us about it. And if you don't know what you want to do, talk to us. We're both engineers. We both worked out there. We both kind of kept in touch. So we can, maybe answer some questions career-wise for you that you might be wondering about. So don't hesitate to do that at all. Anything else, Liz, that you can think of?
I know we didn't really talk much about kind of the difference this semester may bring compared to when we typically have in-person classes, but for the most part, we're still having our class, all the classes we would typically have. Bill and I both, we work through example problems. We kind of talk through everything. All the classes, I believe, are asynchronous, where you'll be able to actually see us. We may have a few online that are designated as purely online classes too. But really, what's nice about our class sizes is that it still allows us to do the Zoom, to be able to see you and you can see us. And we're really open. As if you email us and say, hey, can we do a Zoom chat or whatever, both of us are very open to helping you guys figure out what you want to do, figure out classes, anything like that. So we are moving on even in this different world.
Yeah, and that's really good. I should have thought about that myself because it is so weird right now. But for example, I have 7 classes. It may drop to 6, but say it does drop to 6. One of those will be entirely online where there's not a scheduled lecture per se. All the others, there are scheduled lecture times. The way I do it, you don't have to show up for those. I highly advise you to do so because you can fall behind in this stuff really, really quickly. And I'll put out information within those classes about that. But you'll have plenty of contact with us if you're taking the classes. It is a little strange with lab time. Say someone is interested in computer-aided drafting under engineering technology, and you will do some computer-aided drafting in engineering as well. But basically, there is an open lab at the college that they are going to maintain open. They will enforce masks. They will enforce social distancing. Some of the software that is used in those labs, in the CAD lab, you may be able to download from, say, Autodesk, for example. They do have a way in which you can do that. You don't have to pay for it. It has a limited license. I can't remember. I think it's a year. That may be wrong because it may have changed. Does change from time to time. But some people can't do that. So we have an open lab that's been set up that you can go into. For example, in one of my classes, there's some programming work, MATLAB, that has to be done. That's not really a program that you can get on your own laptop very easily. So I suspect people will be going into the open lab. And I think you've got the same situation, Liz, for EGR 126, which is...
we do C++ programming. There is free downloads available, and nowadays there are some internet-based compilers that you can insert your code into. But we have Code Blocks, which is the program we use, downloaded on those computers in the lab as well. If you aren't able to download it on your computer, or if you're having computer difficulty or anything like that, then you can always go to the lab that's open.
Yeah. All right, before we kind of open it up for questions, and we definitely wanted to do that, Sarah, is there anything that we haven't mentioned that you think we should talk about?
I think you've covered what I would want to know as a student.
Okay, all right. All right. Well, why don't we see, we've got, I see 3 names listed there, and I apologize, with my eyes, I have to lean way forward to read those names. But I see a Tracy, a Max, and then the other one is listed as Galaxy A10. But do you guys have any particular question? And you have to unmute, don't forget that. It's kind of in the bottom left of the screen. You'll see a little microphone, and you want to make sure there's not a red slash across it. So do you folks have any questions for us?
I don't. You all answered my questions pretty well already.
What program are you in, Max?
I'm in the traditional engineering.
Okay. You have an idea of what discipline you want?
I'm not sure yet. I think I'm moving towards Virginia Tech's biomedical overall.
Okay. All right. Well, again, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that and work through that, so it's not a big deal.
In the chat, you got a question from the Galaxy phone that says, has there been any transfers to VCU?
To my knowledge, there has not been. However, VCU has been after us for transfers. Now, I haven't heard from them in the last 6 months, but under these conditions, I haven't heard from a lot of people in the last 6 months. However, they have tried to get us to come down to their transfer conference. They hold it in the fall, typically. And so I know they are interested. They are trying to build their program. So I'm quite certain that transfer there would work pretty well. But right now, we don't have anybody, so I can't give you a specific example. It is a pretty good school, from what I understand. So, any of these that we've mentioned are good schools. One of the benefits that you folks have in the state of Virginia, you have an immense choice in front of you, and that's really good for you folks. Very, very good schools, very highly rated, and VCU is a good one. But they are building their program, as is George Mason, as is Liberty, for example. So there's a number of new programs, and they are typically pretty hungry for students. Tracy, I don't mean to pick on you, but I want to make sure that you don't have any questions.
No, I've been trying to think if there's anything that I've been meaning to ask, but if I have a question, it's not coming to mind right now.
Okay. Well, anytime that you have one, don't hesitate to ask. What program are you interested in?
I'm going to technical operations.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I'll see you in classes this fall then.
All right. Anything else from you folks that you have? Okay, a couple things that I would just reemphasize. One, in terms of courses and the work associated with them. Some of these courses that you're going to run into are, they're fairly time intensive. It's obviously a little different with the situation that we're in now with the virus and doing everything by distance. We'll try and help you as much as we can with that. So really, the big issue that I had, and I taught a course this summer, and the reason I taught it is because I just wanted to get an experience in the summer doing it this way, because I knew we'd be doing it in the fall. And the one thing that I found is that students online, because you can turn your monitor or your screen off and it's just easier not to ask questions. I would encourage you to ask as many questions as you can. It's the way you're going to figure things out. It's the way you're going to learn what you do and don't want to do. It's the way you're going to learn the material. And so that's, I can't emphasize how important it is. It's real important to stay up with the material, not to fall behind, because it's just difficult to catch up with this stuff. So you want to be careful about that and make sure you kind of really stick with it, basically. On the other side of the situation, we know a lot of people that come to us are working. They may have families. They may have other things. Don't just not show up. Let us know what's going on. We're both pretty accommodating, and we do have some adjuncts that teach part-time instructors. They're pretty good folks, and I think you'll find out that they're fairly accommodating when it comes to things. But it's best to talk to us ahead of time, let us know what's going on, and then we'll figure out some way basically to help you if we can. Liz, anything else that you think we should put out there?
Not that I can think of. Just your mentioning of asking questions is really important, especially in engineering. Engineers typically have very curious minds, but it's hard for us to read your mind. So if you guys are confused, especially without being in a classroom and seeing confused faces, if we're working problems, I really do need you guys to speak up so that we can go back and review things, or really help you guys succeed in class. We're here for you guys to succeed and get to your next step, whether it's an associate's degree or whether it's transferring on to get a bachelor's degree. We want to see you succeed, and that's what we're here for, so that you guys can learn and kind of get to the next step in whatever you want to do in your career, or just your education.
Last thing.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I was going to say, when students need help, do you want to talk a little bit about what options they have for getting help in classes and tutoring, and if they have trouble in the engineering classes, where to go and who to ask?
Yeah, and we'll still have office hours. What I will probably do, and Liz may do it a little differently, I'll let her talk to that in a minute. I'll probably set some of those up as Zoom office hours. I have the one course that I sort of mentioned that does not have lectures online, but the reality is I'll probably set up a time where I can, a designated time where I can help people out with stuff. It's, Zoom is, compared to when I started, 38 years ago, this is very different, but it's a pretty cool tool. And it's very easy to set it up. And then I can actually turn on my document camera and work through a problem. So it's pretty close to being in my office, maybe not quite as good, but maybe in some ways better because you don't have to come into the college. So we'll maintain our office hours in whatever fashion. Now, some of those will be by email. But again, if I get an email and someone's kind of desperate, then we can, switch over to Zoom. I can create a Zoom meeting in, maybe as short as 10 minutes. So I got to go back through it again to be sure. But it is pretty easy to do, and that's a good way to set it up. So it really comes down to you guys to ask the questions and try to, contact us and let us know what's going on. Liz, I don't know if you want to talk to that at all.
Yeah, similarly, I will still have office hours. I've held Zoom office hours. I do ask students usually just to email me just to make sure that I'm on Zoom whenever they expect to be there. But with the Zoom office hours, I was very successful with it at the end of last semester. I had students literally who had worked out problems and just like held it up to the camera for me so that I could see, and then I could kind of help guide them into the direction that they needed to go. The Zoom office hours do work pretty well for the computer programming class and for CAD because I allow you to share your screen with me so I can see what is going on your screen as well. Yeah, and I'd say for tutoring, Bill and I are both here. If I have one of his students that is not able to reach him for some reason, when we had offices, both of our offices were open. But typically, just come to us and we'll help you out the best we can.
I would also tell you that that's probably true for every faculty member that you're going to have. Mathematics, physics, English, whatever. So it's really all about getting in contact with the instructor and then setting a time up to get some specific help if that's what you need. Okay. One other thing I wanted to mention, and I usually kind of do this at the end, and I think we're pretty close to that. There's real opportunities in these degree areas. I could go into salaries and stuff like that. I hesitate to do that because, in my opinion, that's not the reason you should do these. It's great to have good job opportunities. That's super. You should do these programs, whichever one you would choose, be in, because you want to do it, because you enjoy it. That's the primary reason. The fact that there are lots of jobs is just icing on the cake, so to speak. So I would encourage you to consider transfer, whether it's through engineering technology or through the science engineering, because ultimately that may be the best situation for you. Probably is in most cases. But I also can tell you that there are plenty of two-year graduates under the engineering technology out there that are doing very well financially. So, a lot of opportunities, but do it because you like it and because you enjoy it. That, to me, would be the most important thing. All right. I think we're pretty much done. Any other questions from you folks? Okay, so if you need to revisit this recording for whatever reason, or this session, it is recorded, right, Sarah? Do you want to tell them about where they access it and stuff?
Yes, so we have, we're recording all of our sessions from this week, which are about, I think they're 26, 25 events. And we will be posting them on the Welcome Day page. So if you go to lfcc.edu/welcome day, you'll be able to see an entire lineup of everything that we have coming up and everything that we've done, yesterday and today. If you want to catch up on something, rewatch something, you can do that. And this goes for anybody who, if you're watching this recording right now, you can do that as well. I'm going to share my screen and show you this link to fill out for the prizes. So if the three of you viewing this could go to this website, it's the tinyurl.com/lfcc-summer 2020, and you'll be able to enter to win. And once again, we will announce the winners on August 24th, which is Monday, and the start of classes, which blows my mind. And then we have in the new student portal. So if you're a new student and you want to go back and watch some of the sessions that we had this summer, just some learning things. There were sessions on leadership and getting involved in student life and how to manage stress and anxiety. You can go back and watch those two, and those will give you extra entries. So all new students can get up to 5 entries into this raffle. So I'll give you a minute to go into that.
Hey, let me ask one more time. Any remaining questions that anybody has? All right, I'll take silence as a good thing, that we did a good job, but don't hesitate to email us if you do have questions. My email is blewis@lfcc.edu. That's BLEWIS@lfcc.edu. Liz, you want to tell them yours?
Yep, mine is Talfi. It's EPALFFY @lfcc.edu. And I think you can find him on the directory on the LFCC site as well.
So please don't hesitate to use those, ask us questions, and we'll try and help, basically. All right, I think we're done, Sarah. We good?
Yes, thank you all so much for coming, and make sure you get your entry in, and have a wonderful rest of your day and start of the semester.
All right. Thanks, Liz. I'll be in touch, okay?
Have a good one all.
Okay, thanks.
All right.